Hello, my friend. In today's video, I am going to share with you a few keys of how to deal with angry people. In parentheses, yourself included. How many times that we're dealing with ourselves, being angry at ourselves, right? Or with people around us. So either way, I think it's really helpful to know how to navigate when we deal with our angry self or we deal with somebody who angry outside of ourselves. And in honesty, when I start making this video, I was thinking more of for other people, but now that I'm starting, I'm like, well, I think the same thing applies. So with that, let's just kill two birds with one stone, right? To deal with people who's angry outside and also with ourselves too, because we do get angry. Who doesn't, right? So in that, key number one is when you deal with people, angry people, my friend, is to distinguish the responsibility in it. And most of the time, when somebody's angry, it's not personal. If you really look at yourself when you're angry, a lot of the time when we're angry, because it's our way of dealing with masking our hurt and our sadness, our vulnerability. Being human, vulnerability, one of a not fun space feeling to be in because you feel raw, right? You feel weak, you feel naked, you feel unsafe in vulnerability. So in that, if we don't know any better, our natural way of dealing with it, we mask it with anger. Is give us the power to feel right, the power, the drive to move forward, to look good, and um, to not feel like we're gonna be a doormat being walked all over. This is very classic. One of the things that I in my session with my client yesterday, we were talking about vulnerability, right? One of the reason for him to not to be vulnerable in a moment because his system give the meaning being vulnerable, and I'm sure you can relate to this. Vulnerable mean very weak. It's not manly. Is you being a doormat and you be taken advantage of. You're powerless. So if that actually is the truth of vulnerability, who would want to feel vulnerable, right? I wouldn't want to be vulnerable. So therefore, it makes sense for the system to be that. And at the same time, as you do this work, we also understand that vulnerability can also mean empathy, mean to have the courage to be true to who we are as human being, right? Vulnerability could mean that it requires strength. And then if you want to really dive deep in vulnerability, I highly recommend Dr. Brene Brown work. If you haven't heard of her already, she's brilliant in it. She's done a gazillion data of research to correlate vulnerability and courage and resiliency. So, but then my take on it, and I told my client this, what vulnerability is, we don't have to inflate or conflate what it means. One side is like, it's so bad, it's so weak, and one side, wow, it's courageous. Vulnerability is just simply being honest with yourself, to be in the truth and being human. So let yourself being human in the moment and being honest in the moment of being truthful of what vulnerability is to be truthful of what you're feeling as a human being in that moment. We don't need to add stuff to inflate stuff, or we need to make it a victimize of it. So to come back to angry people, being anger is a form of masking that vulnerability, and understand that within yourself. If it's you, the person that get angry, allow yourself space to be truthful of your feeling of your sadness, of your vulnerability. And if somebody else being angry, to perhaps to understand that and not take it personally, because that person may be angry not at you. That person may be projecting their pain on you because they don't know how to deal with their vulnerability and their sadness. So that's key number one. And key number two is to choose to listen and understand what the situation, what that person is about. And when you actually listen and understand what it is, you don't have to be a punching bag for that person. You can, one of the things that Stephen Scurvy, I think, talk about, seven principles for successful people is seek to understand in order to be understood. And a lot of time when we're in pain, we want people to understand us. But the truth is, if you want to be understood, allow space for people to understand you first and then to be understood. So it's really important to make that space for this person to come in your life, depending how significant this person is, right? And then from understanding that situation, you can go to key number three, which is you can make a choice of how you want to show up in this to serve the highest good. Sometimes it's serving the highest good for you to be there, holding this space for this person, and let this person move through his hurt and his pain, her pain, so then you can mend the relationship. And sometimes it's best to remove yourself from the situation if this person is toxic and not healthy for you. And only you can gauge the situation by understanding the situation, by understanding you, your need, by understanding this person and person need, and you can make that choice in the way that serves the highest good. It's not hurting anyone. Because the whole thing is when we hurt, it's very easy for us to try to hurt other people, right? And this happens when we are angry ourselves. We try to project our anger, our pain on other people and the same thing. So think of this both way, right? And the last key to this, my friend, is acceptance. Accepting that you cannot change people and try not to change people. The best thing we can do for people is to let people be who they are and where they need to be to move through their life process. And the best thing you can do is to let yourself be where you need to be in your life process. You can choose to change you if you want to, and the same right, the same freedom for somebody else too. You cannot make somebody change for you. You cannot force somebody to change for you. So the best way ultimately to deal with angry people is to really let people be, and for you to be authentic and true to yourself in the moment of how you want to be in it. And in that, you can allow space for peace and for a beautiful relationship to unfold. All right, I hope that helped. If you haven't already, you can subscribe to this and set a notification. We'll let you know when the next one come out, and you're welcome to share this as many heart as possible. For now, I'm sending you love from my heart to yours and from Hawaii to wherever you are in the world. Aloha.